Hello and welcome to the second and final game from the match against Iris 42 that features a new card from the new expansion Dominion Plunder. Here it is on screen, Cage. Set aside up to 4 cards from your hand face down on this. The next time you gain a victory card, trash this and put the set aside cards into your hand at the end of the turn. Cost 2, it's a treasure and a duration. My initial thought about this is that it looks like Chapel. You can buy it early, set aside 4 junk cards in a couple of states, couple copper for example, and proceed on to build your deck from there. Unlike Chapel, it's one-time use, and unlike Chapel, the cards don't actually go away into the trash. They are stuck on the cage. When you gain a victory card, they will come back. They'll be freed from the cage. I still think it's worth it to get this, to pseudo trash if you want to call it. Get those cards out of the deck for the time being, the bad cards, the starting cards. Good decks are more resilient to junk. When you start to green, you just keep it in mind that you may have a few cards on the cage and you work with it from there, honestly. I think this is worth picking up on an opening more times than not, and I will try to find a way to use it in this game. There's nothing else on the kingdom from Plunder, so let's talk about the rest of the kingdom here. There were 2 ideas going through my mind when I saw the kingdom. One is, wall is there, so you have to think about how to build the deck. You want to build the deck to be able to get as much points as possible with as few cards as possible. One card that is very, very good at that is Rebuild. Single Rebuild is a powerful card. Star Chart enables Rebuild here as well. You can always top deck the Rebuild, always play it on the shuffle. Very nice complement to the Rebuild strategy here. I try to avoid Rebuild strategies even in a competitive environment because Rebuild is very centralizing and it's very easy to play. I think you buy the card, you play the card, you name an appropriate green card and just watch cards spin. It's not interesting to me, but it is strong. And if you want to play against Rebuild, you better have a very good and quick strategy. Is there one on this kingdom that can compete with Rebuild? Maybe. And it does involve the new card Cage, so we are going to play that strategy. It's not clear to me that it is any better than Rebuild, might even be worse. But it's not Rebuild and it involves the new card, so we'll do it. Plan is Bishop Gold on deck. If you don't know, you get the deck very thin, down to 5 cards. Bishop will trash a province usually that you bought. You probably have a hand of Bishop, Gold, Gold, Silver. You buy province, then you Bishop, trash the province, and then you go through provinces like that, or duchies, or whatever. Just racking up points with the Bishop. That's the plan. I think I could get thin very quickly with the Cage. And because I'm not buying green, well, I am going to buy green cards if I do it in that way, but I don't have to buy green cards, you know. I could buy gold instead of provinces and trash the gold to rack up the points, keep the cards on the cage, in the cage, as long as possible. So we're playing that. I have 2-5 anyway. Not anyway. 2-5 is great. You could open with the Rebuild. IRS opens with Star Chart, which is brilliant. They open Star Chart. Silk Merchant, great opening on a 3-4. I don't think you could complain. Arguably, that's better than opening 5-2 here. Well, 2-5 in my particular case. We get the Cage. They get the Silk Merchant that is going on top of the deck straight away. We get the Den of Sin on 5 so that potentially we find the Cage more quickly, and if we find the Cage on a big hand size, it has a better chance of setting aside more green cards, is the idea. Out comes the Silk Merchant. 5 is going to be a rebuild for Iras. It's going to be a rebuild. So great, we have competing strategies. We are going to see the rebuild Star Chart versus the Bishop Golden deck enabled by the Cage. So here's the Cage. We get a couple estates and could be another copper on the Cage. I am going to stop here I want 3. This might be wrong, but I want 3 to get a star chart so that I can top deck the Den of Sin again here. But not now. I want to make sure the copper comes on top, so I buy a bishop here to start the points, and the bishop will also help thin a little bit alongside the cage. So we get the bishop. Like I said, maybe another cage is right there. You set 4 aside, you buy another cage. I would still have 5 copper in the deck, so I could still buy bishop, silver from that point on. It's done now, and we get to top deck the bishop that we just bought. Second Silk Merchant for Iris, and I didn't realize this at the beginning of the game, but the Silk Merchant does help the rebuild strategy too. It helps you to find the rebuild. It could help. It could also work against it by drawing into the green cards, but it'll help sometimes, and the money is always appreciated in the rebuild deck, which sometimes has difficulty getting to 5. Now, there is one advantage to the bishop deck against the rebuild deck. I anticipate that they will not want to trash too many of their cards, because rebuild wants to find the green card in the deck. It doesn't want to find the green card in the hand. If they clip away too many of their coppers, the rebuild will collide with the green card in the hand. So they do trash 1 here. Trashing 1 or 2 is expected, but I don't expect much more trashing after that. Top deck the bishop again here to keep thinning. This is the second play of the rebuild for Iris. I'm not too concerned if it's just one rebuild. They are not able to get another rebuild here. Instead, going for silver, the next best thing. We get up to quite a bit of money here, and I am going to buy the souk. Now, you might be wondering, where does the souk fit into this whole bishop gold on deck plan? First of all, the souk helped me to trash 2 coppers, which I wanted. I realized I was thinning too quickly at this point in the game, which is why I spoke about the second cage on turn 3 or whatever. So that's the first good thing with the souk. The second good thing with the souk is that it gives me plus buy, and I can, on some turns, play both bishop and souk. The bishop will make the hand size smaller, then I can play the souk to get a lot of money. The only way I could do that is through the Silk Merchant. The Silk Merchant is the only source of plus action here. So I do have some plans to play the souk on a few turns. If not, I could trash it to the bishop for a few points. Second rebuild comes out for Iris, so that is of concern. That is of some concern. We get the Silk Merchant that we just spoke about, and I think I am trashing too slowly still, and I am going to buy a second cage here. Rebuild is quick. Even quicker with Star Chart to top deck at least 1 rebuild. Could easily top deck both. You're guaranteed 1, could be 2, and I don't know how many more they will buy. Here's rebuild again for Iris. Go ahead and convert into their first province. They don't find the second rebuild. 4 is probably always going to be a Silk Merchant for them. It's a fine card to buy. Play the Silk Merchant looking for the cage. I don't quite find it. Instead, I will choose to play the bishop instead of the souk and buy another Silk Merchant. I didn't mention it before. Another advantage of the bishop deck is that it stays under the wall limit. The rebuild deck will do it too, as we mentioned, but the bishop deck will too. Den of Sin goes into play, so the star chart here doesn't really matter as long as I put I'll probably find a Silk Merchant anyway. I put 1 on top just for security, of course. Here's the second rebuild, and I know they have here's the A rebuild, and I know they have the second rebuild in hand because of the star chart. Down goes another province. Right now their ceiling is capped at 18 points. They only have the starting estates. So at best, they'll be able to convert all those estates into provinces, max 18 points. I have 6 points. I think I'm okay as long as their ceiling remains. At 18 on 5, they could choose to up their ceiling. They could get a duchy here. I think the consideration is between duchy and rebuild. They go for a third rebuild instead. So the ceiling is at 18 as my mark. Once I can get close enough to 18, I'll feel comfortable. Trash a silk merchant here for the action, for the points. I don't find the souk, unfortunately, but I am able to set aside 2 coppers on the cage. So I have 2 coppers on a cage and then 2 estates and a copper on the other cage. I have up to 6 to buy here, to spend here, and I will go ahead buy a gold. Starting to converge on that golden deck bishop strategy here. Another province gets knocked off the pile, and their ceiling has now increased to 24 with the purchase of that duchy. They are at 17 already, quite close to their ceiling. And once they hit their ceiling, they could start to churn provinces out of the supply with the rebuild as well. We have a bit of work to do, so let's start in on it. Second silk merchant goes down. Souk comes down for a heap of money. And we get up to 11, potentially 12. Many choices are possible here. Another den gold, gold. We go for another den. So now we have 2 dens. Doesn't matter what I top deck now with the star chart because the deck is so small. Still keeping under the wall limit. I'm sure Iris is under the wall limit as well. Here something interesting happens. I have to believe this is done on purpose. They name province. No, this is just lag. Never mind. This is not the interesting part. The game is lagging. Or not lagging. They are deciding what to put on top of the deck here with the rebuild because it triggered a shuffle. There was lag later on in the game. I forgot. 4 provinces are down. And there are only 3 left now. They milled one of them. 20 points against 12 points. So can we catch up? Let's see. Bishop will get rid of this silver. Then I can play the souk again. Souk will give me +4 coin, I believe. Get up to 11. Now what do you do? Well, we have to stay the course with the bishop. We can't pick up green cards because the caged cards will come back into the deck. That's not a position we want to be in right now. Go for gold and another gold. This does put me in a good position to hit double province next turn. However, are there going to be 2 provinces left in the pile? I know they top decked one of their rebuilds here. How many of them can they find? 24. They hit their ceiling. Now they'll want to finish the game while they are ahead. There's the penultimate province. Can they find the last rebuild? They don't. They don't find the rebuild. They won't take that long to play the 3rd rebuild and finish the game. So we actually got away with our life there. They drew through most of their deck, but the rebuild was in the bottom, 3 or 4 cards there. Got away with our life, and we are going to be able to finish the game. Bishop will net us a few extra points. It doesn't matter if I trash the gold or the Den of Sin here. We are 9 points behind, which we will get from Province Duchy. The bishop will give us the extra points needed to overtake the 24 VP ceiling of Iris. And we win. We beat rebuild. I don't think it was clean at all. See all the cage cards come back in hand. I do not think it was clean at all. But we used cage and it worked out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.